All right, Reverend Hollenbach, it's all yours.
Let us pray. Gracious and almighty God, we ask for your grace upon this meeting, that you, almighty God, would fill our hearts and minds with your decision, with your guidance, and help, Lord, for all that are within our prayers and in our hearts and minds, to be strengthened and healed, that this COVID, Lord, would diminish and that you would increase. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. We all say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. And God bless you all. Have a good meeting.
Thank you. We need it.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome.
We need to do the approval of the agenda to start with.
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Scott, we have at least one public comment.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Onitis has her hand up.
Yes. Do we not need to read the electronic meeting motion like we've done previously at the outset? Just wanted to check, make sure we don't.
Due to COVID-19 coronavirus, that.
Yep.
Need to read that, Mark?
Yes, please.
Due to the COVID-19 coronavirus health emergency and pursuant to Chapter 1283 of the 2020 Acts of Assembly, the Covington City Council will convene electronically to transact the business statutorily required or necessary to continue operations of the city. The public is encouraged to participate in the public meeting by sending any comments they may have to Rebecca Scott, Clerk of City Council, by emailing her at bscott@covington. The meeting is open to the public for viewing on this Zoom. How's that?
Excellent.
So now, Becky, did we have just the one public
Yes, sir.
comment?
Yes, sir.
Would you read that, please? And then we'll probably come back to it in a little bit.
Yes, sir. This is from Adam Lax, and he writes, "Good afternoon. I understand that there is a Zoom meeting set for tomorrow, which it was sent yesterday, and I would like some discussion around the repairs to Edgemont Drive and Mallow Road for that matter. Why would we start a job without completing another? Then we are told that we will Edgemont Drive. I don't see how as taxpayers that we can be told that we are unable to access side streets. Are we expected to use one route to access everything in town? Thank you, Adam Lax."
Thank you. My intention would probably be to let Ms. Onitis address that as she gets down in the agenda where we're going to talk about that some anyway. Does that sound appropriate?
Yes, sir.
You okay with that, Crystal?
Yes, sir. I actually have some extensive updates for you all on Mallow and Edgemont.
I thought you might. I thought it would probably all tie into that.
It will, and we touch on the traffic enforcement
Debacle.
that were communicated accidentally.
Debacle.
Debacle.
Sometimes you get B team, sometimes you get A team.
So we'll go back to that in just a little bit. We have several other items on the agenda tonight. The correction and approval of minutes. We had a called meeting on the 3rd of November, a work session on the 3rd, and a regular meeting on the 10th.
Move for approval of all three.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That brings us to a special presentation to hear from Robertson, Farmer, and Cox concerning the 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Gordon, you still there? I got you down in the bottom left. Be your turn, I guess.
Yes, sir. I'm still here. Let me know when you're ready.
You go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. Ms. Onitis. It's good to be with you all this evening. It's nice to be able to do this from the office. I have another meeting tonight that I'm going to switch to right after this. So glad I'm not traveling the roads. I guess I'll start out first by talking about the reports that we issue as part of your financial statements. If I can, it's okay, I'm going to share a document with you. Hopefully this will go better than the other day. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes,
This
sir.
is the annual financial report. Okay, I'm gonna jump down to the reports that we issue as part of your financial statements. Most important part of the whole report, in my opinion, is our opinion. It's a clean, unmodified opinion, highest level assurance that you can receive. That's part of a 3-page report in your financial statements. Jump down to the next report. This is the Government Auditing Standards Report. It's our report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters. We do report one finding related to segregation of duties in the Treasurer's Office. We don't consider a material weakness, but we do report it as a significant deficiency, which is a level below material weakness. This report, this finding, I should say, has been in the report since at least 2008. So it's even before I took over the audit, this finding has been reported. I hope that once we get the entire collection process on Munis, we can get creative and maybe gain some efficiencies, and that would allow us to properly segregate the duties in the Treasurer's Office. That's my hope anyway. The next report that we issue as part of your financial statements is on uniform guidance. This is also referred to as a single audit report. It's required when you expend federal funds in excess of $750,000, which the city does. We include the school board in with those numbers. And this is a clean, unmodified report. Are there any questions about those reports? Basically the same as they were last year. Okay, I'm gonna switch to, sorry. I heard somebody ask it. I'm gonna switch to my presentation. I hope everybody can see that. It says audit presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. You never know on this end if it's working properly or not, so I appreciate the feedback. Skip down to page 2 here. Only problem I'm having here is I can't see the percentages. Does anybody know how to move that so I can see the entire?
If you zoom out, you might be able to see it. I'm not sure on your screen on your end. See, up at the top row, there's a plus and a minus.
I see it. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. I'm still learning on these things. Thank you, Mr. Nice. I appreciate it. This is a summary of the general fund. In the past, I've provided 10 years of data. I felt like this year we would just cut it down to 5 years of data. So this is showing 2016 to 2020. The audit that we're working on, obviously, is the 2020 audit. So this is a general fund summary. Typically, when we look to see how a county or city did, we look at the general fund. It's the main operating fund for the city. Total revenues increasing at about 1.7%. Total expenditures decreasing at about 1%. Total expenses over that 5-year period decreased about 1%. You have some transfers in from the water and sewer and solid waste fund. So your fund balance, general fund for 2020 increased by about $1,050,000. Started out with 4.5, ended up with about $5.6 million in fund balance, which is good. This does not include the CARES money. Somebody might say, well, we got $100,000 in CARES funds. Is that part of this increase? No, it's not. That money has been deferred, and also it's in a separate fund. It's in a fund by itself if you look at your comprehensive annual report. So ending fund balance about $5.6 million, ending cash balance about $4.8 million in the general fund. Adding to that, this year, the school board paid off the 320, I forget the number exactly, but there was a due from between the funds and they paid that off. So it increased your cash balance this year. Calculating the operating reserve, we include the school board expenditures, include the general fund expenditures. Your fund balance as a percentage of those numbers is about 22%, cash balance at about 19%. Those are all nice, good numbers, safe numbers from an auditor standpoint. We typically recommend between 15 and 20%. So you're in good shape there. Any questions about this general fund summary?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, sir.
A little bit. The difference, and this is probably a dumb question, where it says ending fund balance 5.5 and cash balance 4.7. What's the difference?
Yeah, those are the accruals. So any revenues that haven't come in that pertain to the fiscal year 20, we pull those back in. We also do the same thing with expenditures.
Okay.
So you'd have basically it's receivables that are increasing the fund balance beyond the cash balance.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Good. You're welcome. Good question. We've got. I usually provide some pie charts. People don't like the numbers, so that this just shows how the general fund expended its funds from fiscal year 2016 compared to fiscal year 2020. Not a whole lot of change there. Education was 19%. Now it's down to 17%. The largest change was probably this health and welfare increased from 7% to 12%. And that's the Children's Services Act is what's causing that. It's the amount of money you all send to Allegheny Social Services Department. Or it's the amount you pay for children for that program. Similar pie charts showing revenue from 16 to 20. Not a whole lot of change here. State revenue was 20%, now it's 24%. Not a whole lot to report there. Proprietary funds, these are your enterprise funds, includes the water, sewer, and solid waste funds. You can see from this that water over that 5-year period increased about 4.5%. Sewer fees are flat. Solid waste, we only have a couple of years of data because we just pulled that fund out separately. Expenditures increasing at about 6%. Depreciation at about 7.5%. Here's the solid waste expenditures and fill. Yeah, some non-operating revenues and expenses, transfers out to the general fund. When I mentioned the transfer in the general fund a minute ago, for these numbers, these two numbers here added together. Change in net position for those enterprise funds is an increase of about $62,000, ending up with about $11 million in net position. Seems like a lot of money, but as I've mentioned in the past, a lot of that's made up of net investment in capital assets and not something you can use for ongoing operations. Water and sewer fund has about $3.8 million combined that is unrestricted. That's the good part. The solid waste, because of the landfill liability, is a negative $4.6 million. Any questions about anything I've mentioned so far? The debt summary, not a whole lot to report and change here. Most of your interest-bearing debts are down. Have some liabilities that are up, mainly net pension liability, and that's just because of a change in assumptions made by the actuaries. Landfill liability changed, increased significantly there. If you have any questions about this debt, just you're welcome to contact me anytime. These last couple of documents, this is the communication to those charged with governance. This is a letter that's required for us at the end of the audit process. It's a summary of the audit process. It's a clean report. Nothing negative reported here. And then I believe this is the last page, last two pages are management comments. These are internal control or compliance issues that we didn't feel rose to the level where it would be included in the financial statement. So these are lesser deficiencies that we didn't feel like we needed to report in the audit report. And I think a lot of these have been reported in the past. Here we're talking about the daily collection process at the treasurer's office. Related to that is property tax reconciliation. And those two kind of lead into that significant deficiency that we're reporting in the report as a segregation of duties issue. A compliance issue that we noted has to do with highway maintenance. We're required to test this as part of the Auditor of Public Accounts specifications for audits of counties, cities, and towns. We're just asking them to be a little more specific when they give us daily information about where they're working. Instead of using generic terms like citywide, we would prefer to know exactly which street they're working on. Conflict of interest forms. This is one of my favorite subjects. We had one city councilperson that did not fill out the form completely. And we had one school board member that did not fill out the form completely. Those are due each year about February 1st. We ask that you please fill out each little oval, yes or no. We don't know if you're not filling out a particular oval because you don't want to, or if it's that the answer was no. So as you're filling those out, please complete each number. That's presentation. Any questions about that? Just have one more thing I was going to share, and I'll do it real quickly. So if there aren't any questions about that, I'll share one more topic and then I'll stop.
Go ahead.
Okay. Forgot what I was doing there for a second. Part is finding the item. Well, I can't seem to locate it. So I guess I'll just talk about it. This past year, we were supposed to adopt GASB 84, which had to do with fiduciary funds. The pronouncement board, GASB, was nice enough to postpone that to fiscal year 21. So for the fiscal year that we're in, you'll have to adopt GASB number 84. This will have more of an impact on the school board, as they will have to bring in the school activity funds into the audit report. Also postponed was GASB 89. It has to do with leases. This one will affect the city considerably and will not be a nice one to try to adopt. Luckily, it's not effective until fiscal year 22. So that's everything that I had to say. The audit went well. We appreciate everyone working with us when there was back when everything was locked down and we weren't able to come out. They made our job a little bit easier being able to do it from here. So we appreciate that. Are there any questions?
Council?
I'm good.
Thank you, Gordon. That's a good report. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You all take care.
You too.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Crystal, I want to thank you and David for y'all's efforts on the finances. That's a decent looking report. We've had some that weren't so decent looking in the past.
Yep.
You're muted, Crystal.
I'm trying to be good. If I just may, there's a few things in the CAF for the Certified Annual Financial Report that Mr. Bryant and I discussed that we really want to emphasize for you all, because if you're anything like me, unless you're into the heavy financial lifting, it's pretty dense document to read and have some good highlight takeaways. And really it's really a fair amount of net positives. Overall, the city had a positive cash position. We grew our fund balance last year by $1 million. Our fund balance right now is at 30%. Our city policy is 18%. So these are positives, as I mentioned. And fiscal year 20, there was no use of the fund balance. There was also no overspending by any of the city agencies, which means we all stayed within our budgetary allocations, which at times, while a challenge, we got it done. And that's to commend all of the department heads on the work that they do. And we've made continued progress on the debt per capita. And while I will say it sounds that everything's very good and nice and fluffy and rosy picture, you know, we also still don't know what COVID may bring us or other unintended economic impacts as we started to see a downturn. But we are in a good, strong, conservative financial position. Few things though to note is the tax delinquency is up slightly. And then there was an uptick in unemployment over last year. Roughly, there was a 10% increase in the overall bottom line of unemployment from this period that they audited last year. And as Mr. Gordon Jones noted, the landfill liabilities in fiscal year 20, or sorry, fiscal year 19, the landfill liabilities were at $4 million. In fiscal year 20, they etched up to just about 4.6 million. So again, I think that that's one of the things, as we've all talked several times about, just making sure that we keep in the forefront a landfill strategy and how we handle post-care and closure as we work to try to be responsible with that aspect of an operation, because that does become very costly to localities very easily. But again, council has been very aggressive in its financial policies that it has asked staff to put in place and its budgeting measures that it has approved, and staff has been very responsible in all of its efforts. So I think, you know, just a good effort by everyone all around. I just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that.
Thank you. So are there any other comments or anything from David? Do you have anything, Bryant? You all right?
Your mic's off, David.
I'm good. I don't have anything additional. Thank you.
Okay. Council, anybody have any concerns, questions, or comments before we move on? Ms. Onias, that brings us to report of the city manager.
Yay. All right. So, I guess in an effort to get the elephant out of the room, we'll start with Mallow and Edgemont improvements as part of our emergency road work. There's some background noise that I'm having a hard time kind of focusing through. Is that, Mr. Hunter, could you mute your microphone, please? I think it might be-
As soon as I find myself.
Okay. I apologize. With Mallow and Edgemont, the Mallow area of the emergency road work,
We picking that up in here.
the tree clearing has been finished. We cleared just a little over 18 trees. Actually, all of those trees were dead or at risk of life safety issues with where we were trying to improve drainage. The bank grading will be completed this week. As I mentioned last week, there was the huge oak tree that was on the side coming around the curve that we were going to be working with property owners and just within that area of our right of way to get that removed. We have regraded that, and the ditch has already been rough graded all the way down the side of Mallow when you actually come off the side of the road. Then we have also lined the drainage ditch that is on the actual, you're driving down Mallow from the city on the left side of the road. The ditches have been lined, and we're starting with an impervious liner, and we'll start to fill it in with some rock and other things. Mallow is slated to be fully reopened next week. We are working to then schedule the pavers. In there, we put the paving package for bid and everything together and get the guardrail in on Mallow. Mallow is a site where we did require replacement of guardrail. With regards to the concern as to why we started 2 sites at once, one of the issues is the repairs on Mallow took longer than expected because of the extensive drainage issues that became very evident once we started the work there of what really caused the road damage. As a secondary aspect, we needed to keep 2 crews and we split them in an effort to reduce mobilization costs, because each time they move to another site, whether it's in the city or they leave the city and come back, there is a mobilization fee. So it was easier to also just try to work continuously to address the drainage issues in earnest on Mallow. I will say that while we did not receive a large number of calls or concerns about Mallow, Edgemont was not that same scenario. I will be very candid with you all on that. There seems to have, from a traffic control standpoint, not enforcement, but control standpoint, been miscommunications from what the contractors who manage the road site and the traffic flow and directing of traffic as it's their active work site, and what the city had been working to put out and relay to them. There was a miscommunication, and that they were under the impression of trying to not allow any vehicles through. Whether, our main goal was to keep the large trucks off of those side residential roads in the Edgemont area, because those roads are not wide enough to hold a double tandem truck, for instance. That's not the ideal route to take. Unfortunately, you'd have to go around the city. Yesterday, the city did put out a rather comprehensive press release addressing Mallow and its current repair status, Edgemont and its current repair status. It is projected Edgemont will be fully reopened end of day Thursday. And we also addressed the miscommunications with traffic control, not enforcement, traffic control, which is one of the responsibilities of the contractors. I myself spoke to the owner of our contracting company and advised them of the miscommunications and the issues that created, as my office also received multiple phone calls in addition to the letter that was sent in to our clerk, Ms. Scott, as well as some of the concerns that I know were relayed to you all as council. We put out additional signs on Edgemont yesterday to just try to make folks aware that, it's just, we're trying to really only have local traffic. If you live there, go to church there, that kind of thing, going through the neighborhoods, because we've seen some impact in the right of way with some of the homes in the neighborhood getting issues with tire marks and other things, and they're actually coming from personal use vehicles, because those streets are just not used to a high volume of cars. Is there anything on that I've not fully explained? I think the biggest issue was that on Friday that led to where we were with the traffic control confusion. Late Friday, we had to make a decision for life safety reasons to close down Edgemont 24/7, because once we started excavation and you have large equipment there and everything, the ground was not stable, the asphalt shifted further, and cars would have been damaged going over the roadway, or they could have ran the risk of falling off the roadway. And we were advised by our consultant engineer, as well as GSI, the geostabilization contractors, and the construction workers on site, that it was not advisable to have it open until the repairs were complete. And I'm sure some of you may recall that when we started this process back in August of doing these emergency roadwork repairs, that I did try my best to emphasize to you all that things may day by day, because you don't know what you don't know until you start the digging and you start, really trying to address the root causes of what caused these failures. With that being said, I will ask you all, are there any questions, concerns, comments?
Crystal, the only thing that concerns me is I know you told me you had instructed Public Works to contact anyone that might be impacted by the full road closure on Edgemont.
Mm-hmm.
Who was contacted? I did not see anything news media type saying that it was a change in direction and it would be closed over the weekend.
So we had the chief of police put a post out on Friday, and that was put on the Covington's page. It was reposted on Covington notification. We had our staff member that normally handles all of the media notifications. They had a vacation day. As you all are aware, we have many folks trying to use their time before they lose time. We also went and talked to folks in the neighborhood. Mr. Dressler did that personally. Last week, he was talking to folks just about the work, about the traffic flow. I will say that we probably could have handled it a little better on Friday evening, but things were flying very fast, and we made the decision around 3 o'clock on Friday that we needed to go ahead and close it. Mr. Bryant was actually on that executive team meeting Zoom that we had where the chief and Mr. Dressler and I, we were discussing exactly what we even needed to put in the release. And we were flying by the seat of our pants on Friday because it changed literally in the field on Friday from the morning time and the cracks and the fractures in the asphalt to what it then became by the end of the day when they were getting ready to wrap up their construction work. So we could have handled it better. Working to move forward and past that. The good news is that the work has still always remained on schedule. So they are slated to have everything, including the repaving, done on Thursday afternoon.
Okay. In the future, if we could really target the media, I don't know that the newspaper received anything. I don't know if the radio station, I don't know if the Allegheny Journal, those are all good resources to get information out. So I think we probably really need to focus a little harder on getting information out, especially radio, newspaper, and the journal.
Absolutely, and I will say we missed on that, and I will own that. I should have followed up with the chief to make sure that he knew not just to put it on Facebook. That is my responsibility, and I will own that.
Other than that, everything's going great.
All right. I do have some other things I'd like to update you all on, if
Go
I
ahead.
can. So with that being said, I'd like to give you guys an update on Maple Avenue Phase 2. The conduit installing still continues, and the work is now shifting, as you may have seen, into the alley in the City Mall parking lot. That is now transitioning. The concrete is now beginning to be poured around the conduit that crosses Maple. That was slated to have begun yesterday, and the contractor will not work next Friday. They have some conflicts with some other scheduled work, so they'll be off next Friday. So the road will just be buttoned up for folks to either walk down or hopefully get down. Maple Avenue Phase 3, VDOT had previously provided us some comments, feedback on it. We've worked with our consultants to address all of those. They now have all of the documents needed for final review. The environmental work has been completed and will be reviewed by VDOT for completeness. This project is on schedule. And Jameson from VDOT, who actually oversees all of the locally administered projects, has indicated that she wants to discuss how we plan on funding that, just because in the event that the Transportation Alternative Program funds are not fully available to the extent that we had previously quote unquote banked on, if that makes sense. As we all know, there's been shifting funds across all state agencies with what's available and what's not. And as we learn more about that, I'll be sure to update you all, but I do think it's going to be one of those things that we're going to need to prioritize because it's a worthwhile investment when you already get to the final phase of something taking you down to the river. As I mentioned, we also have an update for Jackson Street, Department of Housing Community Development Funding application. We had a conference called, our consultant, myself, and a few others on November just the week before Thanksgiving to have a game plan for how we proceed with a construction improvement grant application. And again, focusing on the infrastructure and drainage pieces in the Jackson Street area that really, impact adversely the property values of homes. Public meetings will need to be held as part of that process of moving into the construction grant application. So we'll need to be doing 2 of those. And we are working with CHA on a preliminary engineering report that we'll update, and then we'll also present that to council as well. Any questions on that? All right. We had a kickoff meeting today with Thompson and Litton on our consent order work. And that was a good step forward in us getting in the right path with all of our compliance efforts. We also had a meeting with CHA and Thompson and Litton on December 2nd, just to discuss any information that may be needed that would be pre-existing. And we're working to move forward on that. Also wanted to advise you all that on Friday, the Main Street Revitalization Grant consultants, Head Down Strategies, will be out here doing a site visit, which is very exciting. And I'm pleased that they're making the venture out, even during the times of COVID, to talk to the grant management team, to get a tour of downtown, walk through buildings that they can, and spend the day out here just getting a feel for what is Covington as we start the preliminary process of just kicking off the engagement with our consultants. The mayor will be out hopefully on Friday with them. We have Miss Ann Wright that will also be doing the walking tour and kind of giving them the historical overview of where we were and where we are with our Main Street. So very excited for that. And last but not least, just wanted to update you all on our VDOT strategy and just some great things set in motion now. Delegate Austin has reached out to me now on several occasions, and we have had some discussions on Round Bridge. We have the inspection for Round Bridge is slated for the week of the 14th through the 18th. And as soon as that is done, VDOT has indicated and committed that they will be out here for their inspectors. So beyond that, any questions, comments? I'm sure there's stuff I didn't cover, but anytime you can always reach out to me.
With the inspection on Rayon Bridge, will there be a closure for that?
Partial. They'll do 1 lane. So we'll have a flagger out there that can still let folks through.
And then
that is the intent at this time. If it changes, we'll be sure to do as much notice as we can.
And I assume then at the end of the day, when the inspections are done, it'll be opened back up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1-day process.
Anybody got anything else? Thank you, Crystal.
Is that a dog growling?
Well, it's 2 dogs. They're right between my legs. Not very cooperative sometimes. We may hear an all-out dog fight here in a minute.
I mean, they're getting riled up. I can hear it.
Come on. That's better. They're so protective of me. They protect me from each of them. Let's see. We go to ordinance and resolutions. We have to consider ordinance 2015 regarding Chapter 8 building by adopting Article 5 spot blight abatement to the code of the city of Covington.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any questions or issues with this? Ms. Scott, can we do a roll call on this one, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Carson?
You on mute, Lance.
Four.
There you go.
Mr. Hunter?
4.
Mr. Tucker?
4.
Vice Mayor Crozier?
4.
Mayor Seibold?
4. All right, let's go to the second one. Draft ordinance 2016 regarding amending and reenacting certain sections of Chapter 41 taxation of the code of the city of Covington.
Move for approval.
Second.
Questions or discussions on this? Let's do a roll call.
Mr. Carson,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Tucker,
4.
Vice Mayor Crozier,
4.
Mayor Seibald.
To consider ordinance 2017 regarding amending and reenacting certain sections of Chapter 19 Stormwater Management of the Code of the City of Covington.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? Let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Mr. Carson,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Tucker,
4.
Vice Mayor Crozier,
4.
Mayor Seibald.
4. One other item is to consider a resolution, appropriation resolution 2037 regarding dairy contributions in the amount of $800.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any questions, concerns, discussion?
Was this a grant pass through?
It's actually a donation to them for that program.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So, Ms. Scott, could we have a roll call on that, please?
Mr. Carson,
4.
Mr. Hunter,
4.
Mr. Tucker,
4.
Vice Mayor Crozier,
4.
Mayor Seibald.
4. Is there any new business?
Well, the only thing I have, and I've told Alan this directly, and this is from me as a resident, not as much as council, but had a water leak issue over here one day last week. And I called Public Works office and they were Johnny on the spot to get over here. Spent a very long day trying to get everything fixed. My neighbors loved me. Most of them on Phillip and Parrish didn't have water because of it for most of the day, but the Public Works staff did a great job. I've had a couple of neighbors from Phillip Street, especially the one right behind me here, tell me how much they appreciate their professionalism and their efforts. At about 7:30 that night, and it was cold and there was water in the hole and there were two of them right there in the hole fighting to get it back fixed. And like I say, I told Alan this, but Chris will pass along to staff how much myself and the wife and the neighbors appreciate their efforts.
Thank you.
Got it, yeah. We've had a tough time lately here the last week and a half with the cold snap. Quite a few water main breaks, and they really do work out there tirelessly and selflessly in the freezing wet cold.
Yes.
Yes.
City staff has done a tremendous job, especially in the last couple of months with all the issues they've had to face with construction and water breaks and sewer and all the other things going on in the administrative side of it, trying to struggle with who can be in what office at what time of day. And it's just been challenging for everybody. And it's about everybody has risen up to the challenge. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll be sure to relay that to staff.
If there's no other new business, we have a matter of a closed session.
All right, hold on. Let me find it. Oh, hush up, Tucker. I hereby move for certification pursuant to section 2.2-3711-2 of the Code of Virginia, that the city council, to the best of each. Wait a minute, I'm in the wrong one. Hold on. I got the one to get out of it. I'm ready to go home. Let's try this. All right, let's try this. Sorry about that. I don't like this technological stuff. I move that the council of the city of Covington convene a closed session pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia for a discussion regarding the acquisition of real property for a public purpose where discussion in public would adversely affect the bargaining position of the city.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, Thomas, what are we doing?
All right, at this time, you're going to mute your videos and mute your microphones completely. Then you're going to go to the conference call line that Becky sent you this morning. If you do not have that, please call me and I will give it to you.
10-4.
Thomas, I'm leaving totally.
Ms.
Okay,
Bryant,
sounds good, B. Thanks.
And Becky, you can leave. We won't need you for anything else. We'll get the information to you. Lance, you need to mute yourself out. Everything.
Mute. Hey, Kathy, come here and mute me out.
Hey, Lance, I'll get you.
I mean, I've hit the mute button. I got the X on it.
Hello? Am I the first one here? Hello?